Hey everybody, Mr. Holder here. I wanted to put a couple videos together to show you guys how you can do the ensure legibility over busy backdrop and also the text safe areas while I'm gone. So I'm not there to explain it to you, but you can just watch these videos a few times over to see how to set things up and to figure things out for this. So the first half of this assignment, you're going to need to do this in Illustrator, and then the second half, you're going to do it in Photoshop, but the two are very similar, and that is working with the supporting element backdrops or backgrounds. So if you go up here to the File menu in Illustrator, we'll start with that first and make a new file. And you want this to be standard 8.5 by 11 size. So depending on what version of Illustrator you're working, you might have a different one than mine. You can go to print, or simply just, if it's this dialog only, you could set it up to inches, standard 8.5 by 11 print size. And I'm going to set the orientation to be portrait. It could be landscape too. It only needs to be one artboard. It doesn't make any difference what the orientation is though. So I'm going to hit create. And the first thing that I'm going to have you guys do, and I'll put this in the instructions on Haiku as well, is you're going to set up 6 sort of little background areas that you can work with. So the first one is just going to be 2 solid colors. And I want you to do 2 colors that are, one's really dark and one's really light, but it needs to be color. You don't want to do black and white. So I'm going to go over here to my shape tool, and I'm going to set up a shape size to be, let's see, we'll go 3 inches by 2 inches in size, so not too terribly big. And you want to fill this with whatever color you like. So I'm going to just try green. I'll do dark green first. And it doesn't need to have a stroke on it, so I'll turn that off. And then I'm just going to alt drag a copy of this over. And I'm going to copy this a few more times. So I have 6 of these for my other ones. Okay. All right, so something like that. So the next one, I'm going to go over to my color and just pick a lighter tint of that color. So I'll double click on color fill and maybe go with a little bit lighter. Let's see, foam green will work. So I have a dark version and a light version. So the first 2 are going to be solid colors. Now the next 2, you want to create patterns. And then the bottom 2 are going to be 2 photographs. So you're going to need Google for this. So going over to the internet, I'm going to open up a Google tab and type in something maybe that goes along with your color. So I'm thinking of like trees. So I'm going to go tree pattern, because I want patterns for this works on. And I'm going to go to images. And I'm just searching here. I'm going to pick this image from Dribble. It looks like it's big enough here, so don't forget when you click on it to click on the bigger one, or even hit view, view the actual size here. But this looks like it'll work even at this size. So I'm going to right click and save image as, and I'm just going to dump it in my downloads folder. And then I'm going to grab another one, just a totally different pattern. This one looks fine. And grab this and hit save image and save that. Just be sure when you're looking at these that you don't save these thumbnails, that you actually click on the picture and see it here, and you're able to view it here. As long as it's about the size of the squares that we made in Illustrator, you'll be fine. Then right click and save image. Okay, so I got my 2 there. Now I need some images, actual pictures of trees. So I'm just going to go tree photo. Let's see what comes up. And I want a group of trees or a cluster of trees, something that looks interesting. You don't have to spend too much time on this either, but I'm going to try forest. There we go. All right, this one looks pretty good. This is actually really big, so I'll try this one. That one's huge too. I'm wondering if I save it from here, it'll probably be, so I'll just save that. You can always shrink it down too. And we'll try this one too. Save. Okay, so I've got all 4. The next thing I want to do is set up my pattern ones. Now I'm going to use these squares, these last 4 squares, as clipping masks. So I just need to open up all my other files. So I'm going to go File, Open, go to my Downloads folder where I saved it to, and just control click on each thing so it selects each one individually. So there's my pattern, there's my photograph one, and then I'm going to control click this one and this one. Remember to hold control when you do that. Then it'll select each one so they're all simultaneously selected. You hit open. And you can see them here, they're all open. So all I need to do is click on that and drag it over to my working file. So I'm going to drag and drop it in there. And I'm just going to hover that over and size it down. Hold shift when you do that so it does it evenly. So it's just about on top of that square. And then I'm going to right click, arrange, send it back. All right. Then I'm going to select both of them, right click, make clipping mask. All right. So now it's the size of the actual square that I created, that 3x2 square. Then I'm going to go over to my next pattern and drag and drop this one. All right. That one looks to be about the right size, so I'm just going to right click, arrange, send it back. And then I'm going to click or drag through both of these so they're both selected, right click, make clipping mask. All right, and then I'm going to continue to do this and do it to the bottom too. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to try to do these real quick. All right, so now we're all set up and ready to go. We got 2 solid color squares, our rectangles, and 2 patterned ones, and 2 photographs. Now the reason that I picked these is because they're very different and they give you kind of a good variety of different things that you might encounter when you're doing graphic design and you're trying to make text readable over a busy background. So what you're going to do is grab your text tool next and type out a word that's relevant, or a set of words that's relevant, maybe just a couple words to what your subject matter is. In this case, mine is trees. And it doesn't matter if it's upper or lowercase. But as you see here, as I type that out, especially in a dark color, it's really hard to read. If you squint at it, because there's not enough contrast, even if I make it a little bit bigger, it's going to be too hard to read for somebody. So that's where we need to try some different things out with different effects up here in the effect menu under Illustrator or Photoshop effects to set that so it's readable, or doing maybe like a stroke around it so it's readable. Just figure out a way so that becomes readable on a different background. So pretend your client said that you had to do black words on a dark green background. How would you problem solve that so it's legible? So one way to do it is, if it's got to stay black, then click on stroke and apply a different stroke color to it, like white, to set some contrast on it. Now if you zoom out on that, you can see that it's totally readable. Another way you could do that, let's say your client doesn't like that and they want to be able to see that pop off the background, is under effects. You could try stylized outer glow. And what this does is you could pick your color here. And in this case, we want it to be a bright contrasting color like white. And then hit preview, and you can see that just enough of that will be behind that so you can see it. So you can adjust these opacity and blur numbers to be able to see that. So you're going to continue doing this, trying to make your text, and I don't want to do it for you too much. I want you to be able to figure this out. Try to make it as readable as possible on these different types of backgrounds with the same word. So you're going to copy paste this word over and over again. But don't avoid trying to just simply change the color of the text. You want to do different things, like putting maybe a color bar behind it, adding a glow or adding an effect behind it, putting a stroke around it, that type of thing, so that it's more readable. So for example, if I go down here to this area and I left it black, and let's say I didn't have an outer glow on it, let's say I decide to, let's delete that. And I'm just going to type it out again, trees, and it's in black, and it's hard to read on that pattern. So rather than doing like an outer glow, maybe you do a color bar behind it. So this would be as simple as grabbing your rectangle tool, setting this to white, and then, whoops, I have the text select, there we go. Set your shape to white, and then draw behind it a little block of white.